What is an employment reference letter? How is it even different from an experience letter? And what if your employer is refusing to give you a reference letter, or what if the company you worked has now been shut down? Will you be able to still get a Canadian PR visa? If these questions are haunting your mind and giving you sleepless nights, then I highly recommend you to watch this video till the end. Don't drop in between because you might miss some vital information, and I'm pretty sure by the end of this video, you will get the answers to all your questions regarding the employment reference letter. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up? My name is Ajay. I'm the founder of Maple Assistance. Welcome to my channel. And if this is your first time, I'm pretty sure you must definitely consider subscribing to this channel because I make videos to help you guys get your Canadian PR visa without paying hefty sum to the consultancies. So I make a lot of videos related to Canadian PR visa process and the IELTS. So what are you guys waiting for? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and also don't forget to ring the bell icon to get instant notifications when a new video is out. If you want to consult with me regarding your particular reference letters, it's very simple. All you need to do is just go ahead, click the link below given in the description, book a consultation call with me, and let us discuss, and let me try to understand your work experience, and let me try to help you out with your reference letters. Now, coming to today's big question, what is a reference letter? So before answering this particular question, let me talk to you about the express entry process, the CRS score, and the documents which involved in the express entry process. So basically the whole express entry process revolves around something called as the CRS score. So what are the parameters that contributes to the CRS score? Number one is your age. Number two is your education. Number three is your work experience. Number four is your language test score or your IELTS score. So these are the four important factors that contributes to the CRS score. And on top of it, during the documentation stages, you have to produce documents like MCC, which is called the medical clearance certificate, PCC, which is called the police clearance certificate, and proof of funds, that is your bank reference letter, correct? So basically, how do you prove your age? Passport is a very good document to prove your age. So that part is now taken care. Let's move on to the second one, education. So how do you prove your education? So you must have done your education credential assessment, and you also have your degree certificates and documents. So that is going to prove your education. So no worries on that part. So that is again taken care. Now moving on to the next one, your language test results. Very simple. You just have to show the TRF IELTS scorecard. Then that proves that you have scored that much and you're claiming points for the particular band score in IELTS. So that again is taken care. And how do you prove that you are not a criminal or there is no criminal charges against you in your particular country? Your police clearance certificate will take care of all that. And one more important thing, how do you prove that you are medically fit to travel to Canada? Again, your medical clearance certificate will prove that. And how do you prove that you have enough funds to sustain or to take care of your family once you move to Canada? Your bank reference letter is going to prove that. So everything here is taken care, but one thing is missing. What is that? How do you prove that you have a valid work experience? So this is a big question mark, and this is where a lot of fraudulency happens, right? And for this reason, you need to have something called as a work reference letter. So your work reference letter is going to prove that you had that valid work experience for which you have claimed points during the minimum eligibility calculation and also in your CRS. Now coming to the most important part of the video. So how should your reference letter look, or what should your reference letter contain? So let's see that. Yeah, now let's look at what a reference letter should actually contain. So these are the things that your your reference letter should have. So you can actually pause the video for a moment. Or else you can take a screenshot of this thing and you can use it. First is, it should mention the designations, the positions that you held in that particular company. The second one is the work period and the current status. And the third thing is the different positions again, which I told, very similar to the designation. Fourth one is the full-time or part-time. Your reference letter should indicate whether you are working there full-time or part-time. Fifth one, very important, the number of hours per week, because this is a very important information in calculating whether it was a full-time or a part-time experience. Salary compensation should be there. Roles and responsibility, the most important thing, right? The roles and responsibility should be there. Benefits should be mentioned. So in case if you are entitled to have any paid leave, or some kind of housing allowances, some kind of bonuses or something of that sort, so benefits should be mentioned. Details of the person who's signing it, his name, position and date should be again be mentioned. And please make sure that your reference letter is in a company's letterhead, or it should be from a company mail ID. And also another important thing is that it should include all the duties mentioned in the lead statement, and it should also contain at least 75 to 80%, or substantial is the word the government of or the CIC website states, substantial amount of the work experience, whatever is covered in that particular NOC code, the duties, you must have performed the substantial duties in that particular NOC code. So let us look at each one in detail. So first let us look at the designation. So for example, like you joined a company as a trainee, all right. So you joined a particular company, you joined there as a trainee, and you worked in that position for 6 months, and after that you got promoted as maybe like a supervisor. Okay, so you worked as a supervisor for another 6 months, and after that you got promoted as a assistant manager. So you were there working as an assistant manager for 1 year. So all these designations in that particular company should be mentioned in your reference letter, right? So you cannot just simply state that I worked in this company from this day to this day onwards. So you need to mention the different designations that you worked in that particular company. Next is the work period. So your reference letter should contain from which date to which date you worked in that particular company. So at the starting date and the ending date, or if it is your current employer, then you have to mention you're working currently, right? So these dates are really important. It helps in calculating the total period where you worked, right? So this is very important. Next one is that you should also mention whether you're currently working with that company, or whether the company is ex-employer, right? So that again should be mentioned, working or relieved. You also should mention whether it is a full-time or a part-time work experience, and the number of hours per week. It is a very important information which will help in calculating whether it is a full-time or a part-time work experience. So Government of Canada says 1560 hours a year is counted to be a full-time work experience, right? So it's a very important piece of information which you should include. Salary compensation, very vital, because it is going to prove that your work experience was paid, right? For example, if you are working in a NGO, or if you have actually held a honorary position, and if you are not been actually compensated, then you cannot claim that as a work experience, correct? So apprenticeship, or like if you just work for a company without taking any remuneration, then that work experience cannot be taken. So okay, it's not going to be considered. So salary compensation is a very important piece of information that has to be there in the reference letter. Roles and responsibility. Okay, so again, very, very important. So your roles and responsibility you performed in that particular company, in each and every designation should be mentioned in your reference letter, because only when we look into the roles and responsibility, it is easy to identify whether you have chosen the correct NOC code or not. Okay, so it is going to help us in verifying whether you have chosen the correct code, right? So it is very important, the roles and responsibility, and it should match at least 65-70% of what is actually given there in that particular NOC code. So a lot of people come to me and say that Ajay, there are two different NOC codes which will match my particular job roles and responsibilities. So how do I choose the correct one? So it's very simple. Which NOC code is matching you the maximum? For example, there are two NOC codes, A and B, and A is the roles and responsibility or the duties performed is matching 70%, and in B it is matching 80%, then I would ask you to choose B as your NOC code, right? So that's how you choose it. Next one is the details of the person who's going to sign it, right? Why is it very important? Because in case if they have any questions, or if they want to verify about this particular reference letter, they can get in touch with this person, right? So it is very important to have their name, the position and the date and their signature also. All right, so very important. And please remember, the reference letter should be in a company's letterhead, so that we can prove that it is not a forged document or it is not a manipulated document. And they will look at your logo, they will check that on the website, so they will compare the logos, they'll see all these things. So please ensure that you are getting it from a company's letterhead, or sometimes you can get it from the company's mail ID also. So both the things makes absolute sense. The last one is that please make sure that you include the duties mentioned in the lead statement. For example, I'm just giving you a simple example here. Let us assume your NOC code is 2173, which is an NOC code for the software engineers. So here, the first few lines just below this NOC code is called the lead statement. Okay, so software engineers and design research, design, evaluate, integrate and maintain software applications, technical environments, operating system, embedded software. So these are the duties mentioned in the lead statement. So your reference letter should make sure that it is reflecting these elements. Okay, this designing, evaluating, integrating, maintaining so it has to be reflected in your reference letters. Okay, so it is very, very important. So please have that in your mind. And also this is how the main duties looks like. Okay, so if you are able to match at least 65-70% of the duties performed in this particular NOC code, then you can actually claim that particular NOC code. Okay, so please go to just type NOC codes Canada on Google and you will get the link, and you can actually go ahead and check your NOC codes there. Alright, now you know what your reference letter should contain, and let us assume if you are coming out with the reference letter and you are not able to furnish all the details, or if your reference letter is missing some or the other details. So what happens in that case? So basically, when a visa officer looks at your reference letter and if he or she is not happy with the things they see in the reference letter, then they ask for ADR. They raise a ADR. What does an ADR mean? It simply means additional documents required. So they are asking for more documents just to ensure that everything is proper, right? So they ask you for ADR. They raise an ADR, I should say. And if they're still not happy, they'll then raise something called as PFL, which is a procedural fairness letter. So if they are still having any doubts on your reference letter, whether this is correct or whether this is forged, or if they're still not able to make out, then they ask for this PFL. All right. ADR and PFL, these are not bad, because you're still getting an opportunity to prove your application is not rejected yet, right? So you're still getting an opportunity to prove that you have worked and you have claimed points the right way. So even though these things are good in one sense, but remember, this is going to add a lot on your processing time. Okay, so this might actually slow down your complete PR process. So please make sure when you're getting a reference letter, make sure that your reference letter contains every important piece of information that it needs to have. All right, so that's something that you need to have in your mind. Now comes the big question. What if your employer is refusing to give the reference letter? Or what if your previous company is now shut? So what do you do, right? So the good news is there are some alternatives. Okay, so many a times I have come across people saying that my employer is not giving me the reference letter, or sometimes the company's policy wouldn't allow them to give a reference letter. And some cases, I have seen, even my own clients, I have seen they have come to me and they have told, Ajay, I really can't approach my current employer because if I go ask for a reference letter, then I might lose my job, or I might not have a good relationship with my manager. The way they treat me would be totally different, or they are going to cut the promotions, or there might be a lot of reasons why you're not in a position to go ask them a reference letter, or sometimes they themselves might refuse to give a reference letter. So in this case, what should you do? So I have gathered some points just for your sake. So come, let's see that. So what if your employer is refusing to give a reference letter, or if your employer is not there and you're not able to get a reference letter? What should you do? The good news is you have some alternatives, so it doesn't mean your Canadian dream is all gone. So here is what the things you can actually do. The first one is getting a refusal letter. Say for example, you approached an employer and he or she says, the company says that according to the company policy, we cannot give you a reference letter. Then kindly ask them to give them a refusal letter at least. Okay, so in case if you are sending them an email to ask for a reference letter, and if they are replying to the mail stating that they are not going, the company policy doesn't allow them to give a reference letter, then you can attach that email as a proof stating that you try to get a reference letter, but unfortunately the company says that they are not going to give a reference letter. So this acts as a proof or an evidence when a visa officer is looking into your profile. So a refusal letter or a refusal email will also be accounted, and it can act as an evidence that you actually work, but the company is refusing to give the employment reference letter. So another thing that you can actually do is gather some kind of supporting documents. For example, let's say you worked with a particular company, and since the company you worked with, you're already gone out of the company. So now the company is not showing any interest to give you the reference letter. So what can you actually do? So you can get some documents. I'm pretty sure you must be having documents like the appointment letter, the promotion letter if you had any, or the ID card, relieving letter, or the experience letter, which you would get once you are out of the company. In case if you have got some awards or certificates while working in that particular company, you can add all these documents, right? So these documents can act as a support to show that you actually, this will work as an evidence to prove that you actually work with that particular company. So this is a second alternative that you can do. And the next one is basically, in case, let us assume you worked with a company and now the company is shut, right? So basically now what you can actually do is you can try to get in touch with a colleague or a manager or a supervisor under whom you actually worked, or you can in fact contact your friends who are there working with your company, basically colleagues, right? So you can get in touch with them, you can ask them, you can tell them your situation, you can ask them to write a letter stating that you actually worked with them in that particular company during that period of time, and mention all those things, get that letter, and also get that letter notarized, okay? And while you are getting such a letter from a colleague or a manager, please make sure that you are attaching his business card along with the letter, right? So that increases the credibility of that particular letter, right? So this is another thing which you can actually do. And next one is the big confusion comes when you are paid in cash, right? So most of the companies, I know a few companies which don't mention the salary details in their reference letter. So in case if they are not mentioning the salary details, so what you can actually do? So you can actually include your IT returns, right? So IT returns will show that you actually work for a company, you are compensated and you paid the taxes. So that's a very good document to show that you are working, you are paid. And also you can show maybe the salary slip or the salary certificate. In case if you are paid in cash, then you can show a salary certificate, or you can also show the cash vouchers, right? In case if you are paid by a check, then it is very simple, because the check would contain from whom it was deposited into your account. So that also will have your company's name. So that will also act as a proof that you worked for that particular company, right? So this is another alternative. And one more piece of document which you should include in your, along with your reference letter, is random pay stubs. Say for example, you worked in a company for say like 3 years, right? So what you can actually do is like you can share the pay slips of the last 3 months, first 2 months, and in between 1 or 2 pay slips. You don't have to show the pay slips for all the 3 years that you work, but random months you can take the pay stubs and you can actually share that to the government of Canada, so that the visa officer, when he looks into that thing, he's pretty sure that you actually work for the company. So these are some of the alternative ways through which you can actually prove that you work for a particular company, right? So in case if you're not able to get a reference letter, these alternatives can be done. So guys, please remember, if you are not able to get a reference letter, there is no one particular alternative to this. Okay, so I have shared a lot of different alternatives. What you can actually do is you can combine those things. For example, you can get a letter from your colleague. At the same time, you can add supporting documents like your appointment letter, your pay stubs, your ID card and stuff, right? So please think how you can actually prove your experience, and I'm pretty sure that there is some means to make sure or to prove the visa officer that you actually worked, and for the points that you claim is absolutely true, right? So please be very creative. Now moving on to the last part of today's video. So how is your reference letter verified? So that's a very good question, right? So let us try to understand how it has been verified. So basically CIC has an integrity team which takes care of verifying the documents, especially when it comes to the reference letter, to check the authenticity of the reference letter. So the first thing that they do in order to check the authenticity is that, like, when they look into the document, if everything looks clear to them and it's all fine. But in case if they are not happy, the first thing that they do is they verify it online. Okay, so they look at your company's website, they see whether the logo is matching, they see whether the company's address is right. So those kind of verifications they do, and they also check your social media platforms. The important social media that they check is the LinkedIn, right? So they see if whatever you have mentioned in your reference letter is consistent with your LinkedIn account, all right? Not just LinkedIn, sometimes even the Facebook account, right? So I have come across people, I have seen cases where the reference letter says another thing and their LinkedIn profile says another thing. So the visa officers have correctly caught them and they have questioned them, why is it so? So please make sure that your social media platforms are also in sync with whatever you're mentioning there in the reference letter. All right. So I'm not giving any hints for you to perform some kind of a malpractice here, but just remember, online search they will definitely do. And if your accounts are not inconsistent, social media accounts are not inconsistent with what you have written there in the reference letter, then they might question you, right? So the first one is the online search. The second one, what they do is they directly give a call. All right. So this, I know someone personally who has got affected by this. All right. This guy actually, he didn't work in that particular company, but he claimed a fake experience. So as expected, CIC was not so happy with the reference letter. So they initially tried this online thing, I guess, didn't work out, not satisfied. So then they called this particular company. All right. So what happened was the officers had called at the same time, 3 different officers calling the HR of the company, the director of the company, and the person who has submitted the application. All the 3 people got a call at the same point in time, and then it was all out. The cat was out of the bag, right? So he was caught and his visa was rejected. Okay, so they do these things. They give you calls. That's the reason why it is important for you to share the reference, share the company's mail ID and also the phone number, the person's phone number in your reference letter. Okay. The third thing that might happen is that they might actually come for a site visit. All right. So this again, I have practically seen through one of my good friend. Okay. So his name is Saurabh. He is from a place called Gurgaon. Right. So 2017-18, he got his Canadian PR and he shared this experience with me. All right. I got to know him through one of the Facebook groups for the Canadian PR process. And he was telling me the other day about his personal story, and he was actually working in his uncle's restaurant. Okay, he was working as a manager in his uncle's restaurant. It was a genuine work experience, but the thing is that the family name and the restaurant name is one and the same. Okay, so for example, if it is Patel, it was Patel restaurant. So when the visa officer looked at this thing, it looked really fishy. So what happened was his file was put on hold for a very long time. And when he was there in the restaurant, there were some officers who came to this particular restaurant, checked with him, checked with the owner of the restaurant, whether about the work experience and stuff, had a discussion for good 15-20 minutes. And after that, his visa was processed. Okay. So this might also happen, right? If they are not happy with the phone call, if they're not happy with the online search, they might come and visit your office. Okay. So that again is a possibility. If after all these things, if the visa officer is still not able to come to a conclusion, then they might ask you to come for an interview. All right. So if you are called for an interview, again, please don't panic because they have still not rejected your profile, right? Your file. So you can take as many documents as you want, take all the originals, be very prepared to answer the questions, and somehow try to make use of this opportunity to prove that you really have this work experience. So this is how your work experience is going to be verified by the visa officers. I hope you got this point. Well, that's a lot of content in one video. Am I right? But I really can't help it because this requires time to explain. So I hope I was clear when it comes to the reference letter. I hope you got the point now. And I hope I touched upon all the important areas which has to be touched. So that's it from me, guys. And in case if you want to discuss about your particular employment reference letter with me, All you need to do is just book a consultation call with me, and let's have a discussion. Let's see how I could help you out in your reference letters and also in choosing your NOC codes. All right. And if you like this video, then go ahead, give it a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, share it on your social media platforms, and please do comment your thoughts about this particular video, because your comments is something that keeps me pushing and motivating me to do more videos like this. And that's it from me. I'll be back with another video very soon. So until then, it is Ajay signing off. Take care. Bye bye.